Hi, I'm Steve Pacheco, a card-carrying member of Humphreys Inc., and this is my Anderson Humphreys story. It was a slow news day down at the Commercial Appeal where I worked. I was driving to my downtown apartment for what I will say was going to be a long lunch. I saw Anderson Humphreys and the very pretty Debbie Likely pushing a full-size stuffed deer mounted on a dolly right down the middle of South Main Street. And that looked like a hell of a lot more fun than whatever I had planned, so I pulled over and I helped them push. And we pushed that deer all the way to Woody Woodliff's photography studio at 11 West Hewling. It's now the home of Doug Carpenter and Associates. And that deer was going to get shot for at least the second time for a print ad for Reed Homes that would ultimately run in the Sunday real estate section of the Commercial Appeal. So technically, I was I was actually doing my job. It wasn't my job, but I hung out the rest of the day with them and I watched as they crafted this ad just perfectly. It was abundantly apparent to me that Anderson cared deeply about this ad and he wanted it to be the best it could be. He oversaw every aspect of the shoot, and Debbie art directed it just expertly. And that afternoon, I got a mini master class on how to do the little things just right. And Woody had some pretty good snacks, too. That day, turns out, was the beginning of a wonderful adventure for me. They both became my boss. Anderson for 7 years as his partner at Humphreys Inc., and Debbie for, what's 29 now, in life. Because I asked that pretty little girl to marry me later, and she still laughs when I call her dear. Anderson took a chance on a kid with a dream from Memphis, and it turned out pretty good for both of us in the long run. We took that little ragtag, scrappy agency to great heights in a few short but fun years, and we made some kick-ass ads for some awesome clients, and we won a whole bunch of shiny awards. And Anderson built something really special there, something meaningful and powerful. He developed an incredible culture that supported everyone and made Humphreys Inc. the place to work in advertising in Memphis. He attracted the very best people, the very best talent, and he challenged them to do their very best work. But he also nurtured them and made them feel like part of the family. That team went about their work with passion and purpose like I've never seen before. And we swung for the fences, literally, with our co-ed softball team that went 2-5, and figuratively while we set the standard for creativity and advertising in Memphis. Anderson pitched some great ideas to some progressive clients, and we won more business than we lost. And we punched well above our weight as the little guys. We had a really good thing going, and we made great work. But we also made even better memories, like filming our pitch for a prospective client at the Memphis Zoo, with Simon and Garfunkel's At the Zoo as the soundtrack. It must have worked because we got the account. We did some really cool work for the zoo, and Anderson threw his whole self into that. He really wanted it, and he got it. Or dressing the mannequins that lined our hallways for the holidays, and all those frequent special guests who popped in and out of 756 Ridge Lake Boulevard. William Eggleston taking shots of whiskey over our work table is a special memory. And then the daily assortment of weirdos and rogues, and that's a friend of Anderson, who just came by to hang out. It made for some pretty interesting afternoons with Anderson holding court. You know, I love advertising, and I love Anderson Humphreys too. I've always been drawn to people with a passion and a creativity. Anderson has tons of both. He's a true creative genius, and he's never boring, and he's never at rest. He makes people happy, and he makes people successful, and he does it in his own special way. He's unconventional, he's unexpected, he's unusual, but he's never understated. He did more to advance the perception of great creativity in Memphis than almost anyone else I know of. I mean, who runs for the AAF Memphis board by making fun of himself and then letting his whole team take a shot at him? Who calls the mayor and makes him give a decree that the first week in February 1991 will now be known as Ad Week in Memphis, and makes that the backdrop to the Memphis Addy Awards at the newly renovated Brooks Museum? Anderson does. And then who creates and designs and publishes the first ever national AAF Addy Winners book? Again, Anderson. And who pushed to get big name Addy judges to fly to Memphis and put all of our work up against a higher standard? Anderson. Who makes everyone just want to do better? Anderson does. So congrats, Anderson Humphreys, on your AAF Memphis silver medal. It's well deserved. It's long overdue. I'm proud to know you, and I'm grateful for the ride. You're the best, and I'm glad everybody else sees that now too.
Hello, matey. It's your advertising oracle, here to explain how Anderson Humphreys got his creative mojo. You see, before he came back to Memphis, he wanted to make a name for himself, so he produced and directed a movie. It's called The Bermuda Triangle. From here, Bermuda, the Triangle. You see, what happened during the filming was the aliens picked him up, took him up to their lair, and pumped him full of creative juice. And he returned to Earth. But on Earth time, he was only gone for 15 minutes. But in alien time, he was there for 1,000 years of creative juice. Now, how he got his civic pride juice can be explained only by one man, Steve Pacheco, who said he would die before anyone else became silver medal winner of 2020. Steve, another alien capture. Congratulations, Anderson. Well deserved. We love you, buddy. Bye.
I had never even heard the name Anderson Humphreys until 1988, but then I went to work for him for 4 years. That constitutes 0.5% of my lifetime. Yet in that short period of time, I learned that he is one of the most unforgettable characters I would ever meet. He conjured up mutant camels with 3 humps. He created lifelike dinosaurs that were the equal of anything Orson Welles ever created. He took his clients on business trips to Cancun and never touched a drop of tequila the whole time he was there. He took his colleagues on business trips to such tourist meccas as Washington, D.C., New York City, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and Corinth, Mississippi. He himself was a workaholic, working 23 and a half hours a day, and the other half an hour he was planning what he was going to do, the other 23. And he thought his employees should do the same, and sometimes we did. But many a Friday afternoon, he would decide enough was enough. He'd walk around the office and tell us to shut down our computers, and we'd all go play a game of Pictionary. Sometimes on those occasions, he would even go so far as to jump up on the conference table himself, hitch his pants waist underneath his armpit, scrunch his head and his shoulders together, and strut around the conference table reciting dialogue from the characters in Petticoat Junction, and send us home in stitches at his outlandish humor. Somewhere under that third hump, Anderson even had a streak of soft-heartedness, but he never let that streak of humanity deter him from his dogged determination, his single-minded perseverance, or the creativity that distinguished him from all of his peers, this creativity that hasn't been seen but rarely since the days of Michelangelo, Sid Caesar, and Ernie Kovacs. I'm glad that his life and my life intersected. I'm also glad that the ad fed has seen fit to honor his singular talent and his once-in-a-lifetime personality. Anderson, it's been my pleasure to know you, an honor to work with you, and I congratulate you on this honor, which you so richly deserve.
Well, congratulations, Sir Anderson. What a well-deserved honor. I worked for Anderson at 2 different times. The first was Burbank Advertising. It was the Malone and Hyde group that worked on Super D and then the new Ike's. Anderson had come up with the name and the idea of Ike the Elephant, and it was the greatest store on earth. And we had a wonderful time working on that. And then 5 years later, I'd worked for 2 other advertising agencies, and Anderson hired me to come work at his new agency, Humphreys, Inc. And Anderson made us all feel like family. We just totally loved doing our work, and we had the best time, and it was always a team effort. And we never worried about how long it took to do something. It was all about coming up with a great ad campaign. I'd often said that I'd still be working over there if it was still around like it was. And some of the most memorable campaigns we did back then were for the Memphis Zoo. Anderson had the idea of doing a commercial for the new exhibit, Dinosaurs Live, where it was filmed like a Godzilla movie. There's our Godzilla. People were running and screaming out of the newly built zoo gate with the dinosaur peering over the gate. And there was even a scene where Kurt Gunther, our PR director, played someone who had dropped his glasses and they were crushed on the ground by the scared stampede of people. And here's our poster that we did from the commercial. But the funniest thing was that some of the people that went to the exhibit later complained that there weren't really real dinosaurs there, and that made it on the national news. But Anderson was always insistent that we got to use street banners around town to build the awareness, and so we had to get permission by the MLG&W each time, but that was a wonderful way of showing all the excitement at the zoo. And speaking of Humphreys Inc. family, 2 years ago, about 25 years after we'd all worked together, I hosted a Humphreys Inc. reunion, and everyone came, and we had a wonderful time. And a few days later, I got this call from Anderson, and he was wondering if my son Shay, who had dropped by the reunion, was dating anyone, and he wanted to know if he would ask his daughter Tennyson, who had just moved back to Memphis, out. And so anyway, 2 years later, and last May, Tennyson and Shay just got married. So Anderson and I are now really family, and congratulations, Anderson. We love you.
I was asked to tell my favorite Anderson Humphreys story, and there's so many of them, y'all, I can't come up with just one. However, every April the 1st, I would call Anderson up and say, Anderson, we lost this business, or our media checks bounced or something. We'd commiserate it for about 30 minutes, and I'd say, you know what, Anderson? April Fools, I've got him every year for at least 15 years. I get him. So that's my story to tell about Anderson. I love you. Congratulations on this award.
Well, hey, Anderson, it's Dave. Remember me? Hey, I just wanted to say really big time congratulations on an award that you probably should have won a long time ago, but I'm glad you're winning it now because you deserve it, man. For those of you that may not know, Anderson Humphreys, he really kind of changed the trajectory of the advertising world in Memphis in the early 90s, maybe late 80s. Hired me in about 1990. He created, it was almost like you weren't even being hired at a place of work, you were being cast in a sitcom, and that's what it was like every day. And Anderson was a combination of Archie Bunker, Al Bundy, and I was going to say Bill Cosby, but maybe not. But Anderson created, maybe the most wonderful thing that Anderson ever created was Humphreys Inc. because he created a family of people, and it was like a family, and it kind of still is, that we made some really great work together, and we did it without big budgets, really without big clients, but we always had a great time doing it. And I just can't think of anybody that has impacted my career more than Anderson and some of the folks that we all worked together with back at that. It was a very special time in Memphis. And Anderson, I love you, man. And I mean, I cannot thank you for giving me my start in the advertising career. So thanks, man. Congratulations, and enjoy the moment. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, I'm Debbie Likely Pacheco, and this is my Anderson Humphreys story. I had the great privilege of working with Anderson twice. The first time I was right out of school, and he hired me to work at Malone & Hyde Advertising. I won't say much about that experience, except the best thing that came out of it was knowing and working with Anderson. I went on to work at 2 different places as an art director, and then I ran into Anderson again, and it turned out he was starting Humphreys Inc. So I'm pretty sure I bugged him and maybe even begged him a little bit to hire me. Finally, he did, and we started out in his home and eventually moved over to Ridge Lake. Can't say enough about that time, except that if Humphreys Inc. had continued on, I would still want to be working there. He hired the most fun and creative, talented people, and it was like a family. Plus, it was never dull. From the time you walked in, you knew this was a different sort of place when you were greeted with the mannequins. Anderson has the most creative mind and always encouraged us to think outside the box, to come at things from different angles, and to always voice our ideas. I worked on some great fun projects and accounts. Anderson always had so many things going on at once. I worked on a genealogy book that he researched and wrote, an Addy Awards book, a poster that we filled for the Addy Awards that we filled with paintings of all the different advertising heads put into famous paintings, and it hung much as they would at the museum. It was going to be at the Brooks. So his thought was that our work would then hang in every agency, because who wouldn't hang this poster with their picture on it? I never knew what the day would hold, throwing a pie in a chef's face for a photograph, or carrying a stuffed deer across Madison to a photography studio, not to mention that's how I met Steve. But knowing Anderson really made an impact on my life, on every life that has known him and worked with him, I believe. His advertising work has made an impact and still is, but more than just money for his clients. He'll be remembered and admired for his creativity in a world where ideas make a difference. We're doing things differently than the last guy. We're trying to make things better. So Anderson, congratulations on your silver medal, and I'm thankful to be a part of this, and I think it's well deserved.
Hey there, this is Craig Thompson from Disciple Design. I first came to know Anderson, about 30-something years ago. We competed regularly against each other in the Addies, and after one of the Addies, probably 1989 or 90, he sent me a note congratulating me on besting him in one of the categories with a piece that he said was one of the best pieces he'd ever seen come out of this market. This goes to show you right there kind of what he was all about. He was about everybody doing good work and was encouraging for everyone to kind of up their level here in the Memphis market. He's always been about that and been a very good ambassador for us nationally, and trying to raise the work of the Memphis area market up to a national level by bringing in high-level folks and like I said, encouraging folks like me that were at that point young and up and coming to keep doing that kind of level of work. Eventually, I got to actually work with Anderson in recent years after his Humphreys Inc. days, when he kind of went out on his own and was looking for other creatives to team up with on certain projects. So we've done a lot of project work together over the last few years. And I've come to find that he is still just as passionate and just as energetic in his work as he was, 34 years ago. Have really enjoyed working with him, and continue to see his passion for, for the big idea, for having groundbreaking work done. Just have really enjoyed the experience. And this could not be a more well-deserved honor. So congratulations, Anderson. Enjoy working with you, buddy.
Our business produces more than its fair share of characters and legends. Anderson Humphreys is both. He's actually a knight of something or other, and he often refers to himself as Sir Anderson. He even has the seal of whatever that is on the cover of his ad portfolio. In the 4 decades I've known him, we've been clients of each other, we've been competitors, we've been colleagues, and even though Anderson is to the right of Genghis Khan and I'm a bit left of Lenin, we're also now friends. We have some things in common. We're both a bit obsessive, a touch crazy, and a whole lot ADD. I've never known anybody more creative or anybody more dedicated to the quality of the work we do and to what we owe our clients for giving us that opportunity. I've also never known anybody who cares more about his family, his friends, and his dogs. For all of that, I am glad, in fact, I'm delighted, that Sir Anderson will wear the silver medal. And make no mistake, he'll wear it to the grocery store. for recognition by his peers for a career, a whole career, of being damn good at what he does. So, congratulations, Sir Anderson. Why don't we put those things on and go have some catfish sometime soon? Congratulations, my friend.
Anderson, congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, my very first advertising job was at Humphreys Price, and it really was there that I first picked up on your contagious enthusiasm and creativity that you brought to every project. And I know you've inspired a whole generation of advertising people over the years. So I can't think of anyone who deserves the silver medal more. So congratulations, Anderson.
Hey, Anderson. Is it Sir Anderson? I can never really get that right. I think you were knighted somewhere. It's Bill Bain. Hopefully you remember me. I was an intern for you back in the 90s. Safe to say I am the most successful intern that you ever mentored. Well, there weren't any other mentors. Steve cut that bit out. And just pick it up here. I was an intern for you, and I also benefited a lot from taking your ad class at the Memphis College of Art. And I realize most people on this video are congratulating you for your silver medal, for the Lifetime Achievement of Advertising in Memphis. But really, for me, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for just your audacious ambition. I remember always really going into your office, you had your portfolio from SVA. I swear there was an ad in there for Grecian formula. I think it was about aging grain temples, and it was like a visual solution. I could use some of that Grecian solution in my beard because years have gone by. But as a Memphis kid, I remember thinking about that you had gone off to New York to try to better yourself and to learn more about creativity and about the power of it. And that always really stuck with me because I did the same thing. And so, you know, this ambition you had, whether it was that article in the Memphis magazine about the Memphis Heartbreakers and how they should wear pink jerseys and hearts on the side of their helmets. I remember those Gridley barbecue billboards, the ones that you would sort of offset, you would sort of play with them in the physical space. I think about all that. And I was only with you a short time, but I think another thing that really resonates with me is that now I am and some of this is for Steve, but I am an SVP, Group Creative Director at GSD&M in Austin, Texas. I work on Goodyear, Jack Links, Capital One, Southwest Airlines a little. I've worked on AT&T over the years, and I lead teams now. And so the teams I lead now are just much younger versions of the teams like that you used to lead, whether it was Dave Smith and Rachel and Debbie and Liz and Steve and Martin Wilford. And just watching the way that you sort of ran, you didn't let the size of the department or the few team members you had in any way sort of take away from the ambition and the power and the enthusiasm that you brought every single freaking day. And I lean back on that and I reflect on that in the teams that I have now that helping me lead pieces of business. And so while this is your lifetime achievement, congratulations. That's my square version. But with Flair, I want to say congratulations, Anderson, on your lifetime achievement. But thank you for giving me a life in advertising. Salute, Maestro.